What up, everybody? It's your boy Kentario, and I'm back again for another episode of Christ and Comics. And here on this channel, our focal point is looking at anime, manga, comic books, and popular media to see if there is a gospel message that can or cannot be found within that type of media. Now, if you like that type of content, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. That way you can get a heads up as to when I am putting out a new video. Also, to boost this video within the YouTube algorithm, please make sure that you hit that like button. And also that way I know the type of content that you all are enjoying. Not only that, I love to hear from you also. Please make sure that you leave a comment letting me know any questions or feedback that you may have on this video. As we are about to get into today's video, it is going to be coming off of TikTok Live, where I'll be hosting my very first Bible study. And in this video, we will be having a discussion on the wise men that were on their way to meet Jesus after he was born. Just to go ahead and preface, there will be one gentleman at the beginning of the video that will intercede to come and speak, but will not be speaking on the same topic. But after my conversation with him, we'll get back to the intended Bible study. So if you would, please bear with me in this conversation, and I pray that you all are blessed and have a good time. Let's get into it. Woo-woo! Hello, everybody that's coming in. Hello, everybody that's coming in. Welcome to our TikTok Live Bible study. On my last TikTok Live, where we were asking the question of how that fight would go between Kratos and Jesus, a lot of people had suggested and said that they would love for me to do Bible studies here on TikTok. And I saw you. I saw that very much, Bopias. I saw that you had subscribed to my YouTube channel, man. I completely appreciate you doing that. C4, you want to join my Bible study? I'm not against that. Let's see. Hello.
Shabbat shalom. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. I'm alive. Chilling.
Good alive, that's for sure.
For sure.
Oh,
today.
One second. Let me.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, let me test something real quick. See if these come through.
Mm-hmm.
All right, can you hear me?
Sound good? Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. Is this better or is this worse?
It's cool. I mean, either way is like really just fine. It's fine either way.
All right, perfect. What were you gonna say though?
But yeah, considering that today is the Shabbat, the set apart day of the Most High, and I saw that you wanted to do a study, I wanted to go through a couple scriptures with you, just concerning a couple things, just as far as like, for example, so what is your background? Just for example, like I know you believe in the scriptures. We believe in the same Bible. I believe in the Old Testament all the way to the New Testament. Are
Absolutely.
you right? So we believe in the same thing. We believe that the Most High had a son who is him in the flesh, referred to as, I don't know if you know him as Jesus, but I know him as Yahusha HaMashiach. But I just go by his Hebrew name just through my studies and whatnot.
Right.
But we believe in him as well.
Okay.
I believe through the scriptures testifying that even though the Old Testament and New Testament are in the scriptures, they are also very familiar and also like one and the same, to the degree that some people believe that the Old Testament is not relevant anymore, or as far as to say that the laws of Moshe are no longer relevant. And through that, I was going to ask you where you are with that topic, and I figured we could get into a biblical in order discussion about it, minus the yelling, the ad hominem attacks, just trying to get the truth. That's all. So
I got you. And just so everybody knows, we did in fact reschedule us actually having this conversation. Myself, Christ in Comics, as well as Control, who ended up coming on to my live. We are preparing to be doing this video again on TikTok Live the following week to, of course, discuss, the conversation of salvation and that being tied to actual works. So I hope that you all will tune in for our TikTok discussion here in the future. And I'll be sure to make sure that that's shared here on YouTube as well. That way, again, if you miss it, you can join us there. Thank you. All right, let's get ready for this TikTok Bible study. Today, we're doing a Bible study lesson on the 3 wise men. Well, let me be more specific. The wise men. The wise men that we're looking at are the wise men that pursued to meet Jesus after he had been born. So after the birth of Jesus, there were wise men that were, looking to meet him. A new king has been born. We want to see him. This occurrence took place in Matthew chapter 2. And what we're going to be looking at today is going to be verses 1 through 12. Now, I want to go ahead and preface that I am the type of person that when it comes to Bible study, it's not me just sitting here talking at you the whole time. I'll speak on some things. I'll do a review. And then I'll allow an opportunity for anyone that has questions about what was just read, anyone that has anything that they want to add to it. I want to highlight it. I want to acknowledge it. If anyone would like to, be in and be sitting and listening, let me know and I'll consider it. I am hesitant in the type of people that I bring on. I don't regularly just let anybody on because I don't know you and I don't know what you're going to say. And I don't want it to, one, interfere with the lesson, two, even more so impact what's being said here from a spiritual standpoint either. So I'm very cautious in that regard. I just want to make that known. But our Bible study lesson, we're going into Matthew chapter 2. We're going to begin at verse 1. Okay? You ready? Y'all got your Bibles? You got your Blue Letter app? You just looking at the screen? That's fine. I don't care. I'm okay with that. And to answer your question, X Faga Max, if I pronounced your name correctly, I would say, yeah, we could play video games. But if you have concerns about what game you're playing, you better pray first. That's just my response to that. And I probably won't be answering any more offhanded questions like that unless they pertain to the lesson going forward. All right, let's go. Let's begin at chapter 2, verse 1. Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem. Okay, let's start here. Look, he's like, man, already just verse 1? Yeah, just verse 1. We got to break a couple of things down, okay? And so that being, the first thing I want to look at is King Herod himself. It seems whenever you're reading anything new, particularly New Testament, when it comes to Herod, there's always some negativity tied to it. You got Herod who's coming for Jesus as a baby. You got Herod who, of course, by being obedient to his wife, that whole Jezebel-like character, having John the Baptist beheaded. You have Herod that's in the position of leadership at the point in which in which they are the same person, in which Jesus is being judged and sent for crucifixion. So Herod is a very consistent, natural, secular enemy of Jesus, as we see throughout the New Testament. But we got Herod here in the beginning. It's Herod the Great. Herod the Great was the son of an Edomite and a Jewish woman. So one of the major questions that I had even looking at Herod is, what was Herod Jewish? Herod is Jewish partially. So he in this position of rulership in Jerusalem was a king, or acknowledged as a king, even recognized against the Romans, who are as far as we know, the superior force here reigning over the Israelites, right? So he's Jewish, he's a king, but the type of king that he was, yes, one that had a lot of money. He was very intellectual. He was a very capable person, but he was very selfish. He was very prideful. He's like all about loyalty to himself. His expectation of loyalty to himself was so strong that due to fear of lack of loyalty in regards to family, he had family killed in response to that. So he doesn't play, and when I say he don't play, I mean he's extremely selfish, right? He'll do anything against anybody for his own sake. And so we have this instance where he's currently in leadership, he's currently in rule, and some wise men approach him. Now, what's interesting here is we hear in the verse that wise men had approached him. Now, to tackle the surface level thing here is it's not clear that it is 3 wise men. It is only assumed that there are 3 wise men that had approached him. I'm going to, as we go through this Bible study, hint on some particulars in regards to these wise men, and even more so the things that kind of hinted to them that there being 3, because it's only 3 known names of the people that came to see Jesus, as well as when we talk about the gifts that we will see in later verses. I think it's verse 11 or 12. The gifts that they gave Jesus, it was only 3 spoken of particularly gifts that were given in this instance. And so being that those are the only 3 mentioned, it's believed that there's only 3 people that came to see Jesus after he was born. That's another thing to point out too when it comes to this entire instance, is that this is after Jesus was born. We commonly see in the illustration that it was the wise men and then the shepherds, and then they're all gathered together at the manger and they're all meeting. No, this is like probably 6 to 18 months after Jesus had been born that the pursuit of the wise men had begun. Okay? Some other things to point out about the wise men. Wise men, when they're saying wise, they're speaking in, there's several different ways of saying it. You have magos, which I think is the Hebrew, original Hebrew pronunciation for it is magos. There's magoi. There's magi or magi, however you pronounce it, or magi. For those who love to watch anime, there is the anime known as Magi. And there is some similarity there with the character in that anime. For those of you that want to kind of understand, well, what is a magi? What is a Magi? The way that Aladdin is in the series, a Magi is that person that has this, I guess you could say, spiritual connection. They're known for being astronomers. They're known for being astrologers. They're known for being seers, divinators, sorcerers, and in some senses, those people that they come to for wisdom, for the spiritual things. That is what a wise man is. And we see commonly that there's a lot of association with them being kings, but there's not 100% evidence to say that they were kings. It's just possibly believed that they were kings, coming to, of course, reverence another king. Okay, so these are some things to keep in mind when it comes to the wise men when we're talking here. Okay, and again, they're the main focus of today's Bible study, and I want to sit here and focus for just a moment. And the reason I want to sit here and focus for just a moment is because of what they say in verse 2. Saying, "Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him." There's so much to unpack from those 2 verses by themselves that it is extremely, awe-inducing when we think about this in this sense, right? So let me go back a little bit. They said that these wise men were from the east of Jerusalem. There's a lot to unpack from that. In one sense, it's believed that they're wise men from these different countries off to the east of Jerusalem. On the east side of the country, past Jerusalem, there are these other countries. That's where they came from. It's not saying that they are people of Jerusalem that are on the east side of Jerusalem per se, right? It gets very foggy as far as which one is actually accurate. That's why I want to point out every instance. Another possibility, right? If you were to go to, got to double check. It is Genesis 25:6. Okay, for anyone that does not know, this is just a fun fact for my Bible lovers. For those that just love learning a little bit more. When you go back and read Genesis, you'll learn 2 things. Ishmael was the first son of Abraham. Isaac, the second son of Abraham. And after the death of Sarah, he had remarried as well as had concubines, which are mistresses, in which he had other children with. And it's said in Genesis 25 that the women in which he had children with, through the concubines, were sent eastward. They were separated from, one, they of course had an inheritance that they received, but they were separated from that of Isaac. Isaac had that which is his, which is the principal inheritance, because he's a part of the covenant and prophecy of God. but he received the majority, and then everyone else kind of got a separate portion. And so there's a sect of them that was sent eastward of Jerusalem. And so it is possible that the wise men come from the lineage of Abraham from having been sent eastward. So that could be a possibility, just to point that out for anyone that may be curious and wondering. Okay, so we have that when we're talking about the wise men. Some other things too is we see here that this leans more towards, yes, they have been identified as kings. The topic is the wise men that went to see Jesus. That is the focus of our topic, Roscoe. I appreciate you asking. Anyone that does not know that is joining us now, we're doing a Bible study on the wise men in Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. And thank you once again for joining me here on TikTok Live. Okay, and so what gives us a hint as to what their main position and responsibility was as wise men was that they were more into the astrology and astronomy aspect of their occupation. And so what does that mean? For them to be astrologers and astronomers, we know that there's a whole huge negative context behind astrology and even astronomy, you know, looking at the stars and believing the stars have signs and communicate something to us as a people, as we're just simply living here in the world. But so where are these wise men of God? Anthony Alexander. In what context are you speaking? In scripture? Are we talking about here? Because I'm right here, brother. I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm a wise man of God. And I'm not the wisest, but I do know what I know, and I'm willing to speak to what I know and maintain that faith. But I'm such a wise man that I'm willing to allow myself to be shapen more to enhance the wisdom that I already possess. Okay, so yes, today astrology and even astronomy is kind of frowned upon, looked down upon, made fun of, goofy. We know people laugh at the zodiac and things of that nature. I mean, even I when I say entertain, I know what my zodiac is. I know what it means. I know how, quote unquote, it ties to me. And it's fun, but I don't give it any more attention than that. And that's where I go when it comes to that type of thing. But I otherwise give it no more power. The wise men of the Bible looked to stars, which from my understanding was more satanic. All right, these wise men. Hey, we're going to get there, Anthony. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. But let me point something out for you. The astrology and astronomic work of those wise men wasn't limited to them trying to establish prophecies per se through the stars, but what they used the stars for was navigation. They used the stars for understanding the seasons. They used the stars for understanding natural disasters. They tied those things to understand when something was and was not coming so that they could make the necessary moves accordingly. And so there's a lot of evidence for that biblically. There's a lot of evidence for that in our history. And that's how we do weather reports and astronomy today. Though they use those things to make those determinations so that we are prepared for what is possibly going to be coming. And so, yes, there are some that use it for satanic practices, but it doesn't mean that observing the stars and understanding their patterns is a satanic thing. Because, say it like it is, man. Who created the stars? No one was there when God created the stars, save his angels. Save his angels. So what God seeks to do with said stars and us as being his obedient sons and daughters, we are ones that, we can utilize those things proper. And as we see, they said they saw a star in the east that guided them to where Jesus was. So whether or not they were people that walked with God or not, they were men that when God used the stars, they followed and they were able to find Jesus. So that holds a lot of weight to the stars belong to him, bro. The stars belong to the Lord. I'm sorry, I'm just getting excited. I get excited talking about the gospel. So there's a connection between wise men and Daniel. Highly likely. Highly likely. That's again why I pointed out Latoya, thank you so much for saying that. That's why I would lean more towards these wise men in some sense being from the lineage of Abraham. Because even from the beginning, there is a depiction of the scattering of the people of God. All right. I mean, go back to Noah. We're not going to stay here too long, guys, and we're going to keep going. I mean, look at Noah. Noah and his family were the only ones saved after the flood. Noah's family was selected because they were considered righteous. Now, that more so leans towards Noah and his blood being more righteous rather than his character, but it does encompass both. That speaks to his righteousness. But Noah and his family were kept. Noah and his family heard from God. Noah and his family were given a covenant by God. But look what happened. Those that continued after Noah ended up building the Tower of Babel, going to worshiping what's believed to be the hosts of heaven, or believed to be those giants and those rulers back during the time of Noah before the flood, which is what led to the separation of language and the separation of the people. Those people came from the lineage of Noah when Noah was a man of God at the time. And then there's that division. So now God chooses Abraham, who's a man that is considered to be righteous. And Abraham's own seed, when Abraham was a follower of God, was separated and divided amongst the world. His nephew, who walked with him, learned from him, lived in his home, though it caused a lot of division, was sent out to Sodom and Gomorrah and then sent elsewhere after the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, the spreading of his people across the world. So, there's several people that come from the lineage of Abraham, from the lineage of Noah, that has been scattered around the world. So I wouldn't be too far-fetched to believe that, Daniel has a lineage connection with those wise men. That's not too far-fetched. I will say, I have not read the Bible all the way through 100% myself, like from beginning to end read it. I have read so many different studies and occurrences and read so many different instances and tied all those instances and connected them, but I've never read the Bible all the way through. So whether or not that plays out in regards to Daniel, I cannot 100% say yes or 100% say yes or no, but it is possible. All right, I'm gonna pause for a moment, snack a little bit, drink on my drink. You know what I'm saying? Please, my hyper spiritual charismatic brothers, this is Venom. But it's not demonic. It's just an energy drink. It's 99 cents down here. I can save a little bit of money. I'm going to enjoy my drink. So I want to ask you guys, is there anybody with a question? Anybody with a comment in regards to this? Anyone want to express what they think and feel? Now you have the floor. You get about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and then we're moving on. By the way, thank you guys for getting us up to 2.4 thousand likes. But I have a question. Can we get it to 3,000 likes in the chat? Let's get it. 3,000 likes. Come on. Show your love and support. While you all are coming up with your questions, let me reiterate to each and every one that is joining us here, those that are new to this page, please show your love and your support. I would love it if you would follow my YouTube channel here at Christ and Comics, where we share the gospel using anime, manga, comic books, and other such media. So thank you so very much. Okay. Anthony, back with the questions, my man. You're going to be the only one asking me questions today? Is there any information as to the wise men after meeting baby Jesus? From a biblical standpoint, there, as far as I know, there is not. Is there any implication as to what happened to them? Well, there can be some research done. I haven't delved too deep into learning the aftermath, but I can tell you, and it might help in some research that you could do on your own, and I can do in the future myself. The believed 3 people that were present of those wise men, because it's possible there's more than just the 3, but the believed 3 wise men that were there were Melchior, Casper, or otherwise pronounced Jasper, and Balthazar. So you can do some research into looking up these 3 men, and we'll continue from the standpoint of these 3 men when we get back to it. But you can look up those 3 people: Melchior, Casper or Jasper, and Balthazar. Melchior was from Persia, Casper was from India, and Balthazar was from Arabia. I hope that answers your question. I pray to God y'all don't hear me chewing right now. You know how unnerving that would be if y'all can hear me chewing? That'd be so uncomfortable. I have to mute y'all. Can I mute this thing? Because I don't want y'all to hear me chewing. That's so weird. I'm self-conscious now. I even eat in peace. Any other questions or comments on what we've said so far? And then we'll move on. Thank you, Anthony. I feel so much better, man. I think y'all got 2 more minutes. Y'all got 2 more minutes. Any questions or comments? Well, the only other question I can answer, I don't know if they're still here. They were mentioning about video games and that they play video games, but they play the dark ones. I mean, I would not outright say you're wrong for playing the dark ones, but you better be praying as you play them. Be sensitive to what it is that you encounter when you play those dark games, and be prepared to put them away if it gets to a place where you sense in your spirit that something's unnerving. Be prepared to shift. Hey, Fo Gamma X. Back to Genesis, do you believe that Noah brought dinosaurs inside the ark? Considering the size of the ark, I would say no. I would probably have to say no, in my own personal opinion. It's here and there, man. It's very here and there, Anthony, to know the outcome of the dinosaurs. I haven't delved into that, honestly, because I hate saying this, because that's the whole dinosaur thing for me is very conspiratorial. And personally, I don't think that speaks more so to the focus of coming to a saving relationship with Jesus and building upon that as much. It gets more into what people want to argue when it comes to evolution and all of this other stuff. And because, they talk about the different eras, the Zoic eras in which these creatures existed. And if I were to give any type of opinion on anything in dinosaurs, and this is opinion, this isn't biblically confirmed entirely. So when you look at Genesis and the creation of the world, right? When you look at how God spoke of how God created all things, I asked the question first, do you think that everything that was said is symbolic and imagery? Or is it something that actually happened as he said it? Or is it a mix of both? Because depending on what you think and what you believe, you come to the conclusion that I come to. I have a separate perspective that the dinosaurs existed on the earth when it was without form, when it was void and without form. That's I believe that they were existent then. Because for me, when I think of the creation period, granted, the way that they record days and times is up for question. Like one day isn't actually one day. That part, I otherwise believe it's entirely true that when he spoke it, it happened. Period. It wasn't like a speaking and then all this other additive things, other beings, and I don't think that deep into that instance when God said it. That's what happened. Point blank. Period. So when he says the world was void and without form, he didn't say that there was no earth there. He said that the earth was void and without form. It lacked substance. It lacked something that was profitable. It lacked life, like genuine life. The life in which, when God created us, life existing on the planet. So what I believe is that the dinosaurs existed upon the earth during that time, and then God built around them, giving humanity dominion over all of them in the process of doing so. That's my belief, and that's my perspective. Say what you want, think what you want. That's just kind of where I'm at on that. We can quibble and argue about it. I mean, because God, it can go, that whole can of worms can go extremely deep. I believe that he brought them when they were eggs. Not sure how to respond to that, but I appreciate you saying it. Anthony, you say, from my understanding, dinosaurs were only talked about in Job, so flood took them out. That's also highly possible. They at least took out some of them, because it's believed that Leviathan is what swallowed, not not a Leviathan. Leviathan is what swallowed Jonah. So some of them survived, not all of them. So when we talk about the depths of the Mariana Trench and all of those other things and the parts of the sea that we cannot and have not explored, because we've only explored, I think, less than 25% of the ocean alone. That's all that humanity has actually been able to explore. So there's no telling what other entities exist below there. That's just my opinion, man. I'm just dice rolling, throwing it out there. 3.3 thousand likes. Yes, sir. And before the end of this, I want to get to 5,000 likes. Can we get to 5,000 likes? Okay. We're getting back into the Bible study. We are talking about, for anyone that's new to joining us here, we're talking about the wise men. We're discussing the wise men on their journey to go see and meet Jesus. Okay. Continuing in this lesson, the wise men, verse 3, we just read how they followed the stars. This confirmed them to be of the astronomer occupation in their journeys to seek out who Jesus is. Before we talk about the star itself, all right, we're going to move forward from that. Verse 4. We're going to get back to it, though, okay? So bear with me. When he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, and thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. Then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. Okay, and he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search diligently for the young child, and when ye have found him, bring me word that I may come and worship him also. Okay, so let's pause there for just a moment, because the next verse is when we get back into the star. We're going to pause here for just a second. So we have three parties involved in the conversation after the inquiry of the wise men. You have the wise men, Melchior of Persia. You have Melchior of Persia. You got Jasper of India, and you have Balthazar of Arabia. So, and amongst others, possibly the wise men that are present. You also have Herod, who is one of the other people, King Herod, that Herod the Great, as they identified him at this time. Then you also have the people of Jerusalem. And when I say people of Jerusalem, you have the scribes, you have the priests, you have his other leaders in position. Soldiers are present hearing this claim. Hey, we've come to worship the King of the Jews. We've heard that he was just born. Where may we find him? So, one, they got King Herod sitting on the throne right now. You gonna bring up that there's another king around here? What? And then you have the scribes, the priests, the soldiers, all of them. They're all troubled. As the verse says, they were all troubled by this claim. It caught them off guard to hear that there's supposed to be a king born. Notice this, right? This is what I find interesting. The current king of the Jews, is not aware of this, but we can tell that he's not aware of this due to a lack of spiritual connection that he might have. And I say that, and this kind of hits to how the Spirit of God was present with very, very select people back in the Old Testament times. That's why he was only present with kings and or prophets. That's why he would even leave corrupt and evil kings at times. Whole other can of worms if you want to talk about the difference between Saul and Solomon. We can go there at a different time. So we can come back to that. I do not believe that the wise men believed that he was the Son of God, but we're going to talk about that too. I have something to bring up with that as we get into the star conversation. Thank you again, Anthony. Okay, so the King Herod, we have King Herod that's present here. King Herod was not a man that is being depicted as he's not an honest person, but he's also not a person to have the Spirit of God working with him or within him, which is why this claim that there's a king that has been born troubles him so much. The scribes, the priests, the soldiers, all of them were troubled. What that tells me is they aren't involved spiritually with, the word of God coming forth. God hasn't spoken these things unto them. And we can see the follow-up with the way that played out, with that being the scribes and the priests, the Pharisees at this time, were troubled, and they weren't already in tune with scriptures to the point of being able to connect the dots immediately. They had to connect the dots after Herod demanded that they go and do the study. They weren't in tune. They weren't in tune. To use as an example, I know a lot of people don't believe that this is a regular thing anymore. I believe it's still a thing that is done today, but not through as many people as the people that are saying that they're doing it. A revelation from God. You know, when someone brings a genuine revelation of God, you have a certain amount of the crowd that is in tune. They're just like, wow, oh my God, everything starts to connect for them. The revelation becomes clear. They see everything that the minister and the pastor is seeing. But then you have this other group of people that's just like, what? That don't make sense. What are they talking about? Huh? I'm confused. I'm lost. This is separate from the tongues argument and speaking tongues publicly and causing confusion. We're not talking about that. When someone speaks words of wisdom and knowledge and understanding and they don't actually get what's being said and it's missed, oftentimes too, that's what made Paul hesitant to say certain things too, was Paul had this heightened level of revelation and wisdom that he couldn't just outright be saying to every single person he met on the street, because it wouldn't make sense. And he would rather articulate something and it makes sense than cause confusion. But the thing about the wise men showing up to the people who this king is supposed to be the king over and saying this is that they weren't in tune like these people from a whole other country were in tune. Boy, we're about to get into that too. They weren't as in tune. No, this was not the same Herod, because if I'm correct, this Herod ends up dying as time passed after. He ends up dying later on. So it's a new Herod that ended up going for John the Baptist. Thank you, Anthony. There's a new Herod that went after John the Baptist. Those are, if I'm correct, those are three different instances of Herod. The Herod that came for Jesus, the Herod that came for John the Baptist, and the Herod that was present for the judgment of Jesus before his crucifixion. Those are three different Herods involved. That's my level of understanding. There could have been only two, but I believe that there was three. But the priests and the scribes and King Herod, none of them were privy to some king being born. So where we might look at that and think, well, the wise men were kind of out of pocket and crazy, there's those darn astrologers, right? Those star folks showing. That's how we would look if someone came up to us saying that they saw something in the stars. Then we would look at them kind of crazy, especially if they showed up at the church. Let them show up at the church. Let them show up at the church. We were looking at them like they could stars. What? The stars? You're demonic. The stars showed you what? Get out of here. Like, hey, we give them such a hard time. But, no, these people weren't in the game. And so what did the Pharisees and scribes have to do? They had to go back to the text. And they went back to Micah chapter 5, verse 2, where Micah, who was a prophet, Micah gave prophecy of a king that would be coming out of Bethlehem of Judea. Right? And there's so much more tied to that, because none of that validates Herod as the king of Jerusalem, or the king of Bethlehem in Judea. So there's so much to unravel from these simple words that's being said in scripture right now. We made it to 5,000 likes. Great job, everybody. Great job. Thank y'all so very much. Hey, Fo Gamma X, thank you so very much, brother. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Laugh at me if you want. I know it's a good laugh. I butcher names until I get it. Fo Gamma, thank you so very much for letting me know that this is blessing you. It means a lot that you are here. I want you guys to know it means so much that y'all are here participating in this. And if this works out as well as I'm praying it does, I look forward to continuing it. Let's keep it going. All right. So we got three. Not only do we have three different parties present for the discussion of the birth of a new king of Jerusalem, or of Bethlehem, we also have... I almost forgot to make mention. Hey, voice, are you trying to get on? Hey, voice, let me know. Do you want on right now? I don't know if you're looking to get in or not. Are you trying to get in? Let me know. His voice, are you trying to get in on this chat? No, it looks like he's gone already, guys. Okay, I was making sure. That's my brother in the Lord right there. His voice. His voice, if you're not already, go follow this man. He shares the gospel and plays video games. We're on the same wavelength on that, brother. His voice has an impact. His voice has an impact. God bless that man. Okay. So one thing to point out when it comes to Bethlehem, Bethlehem was also the place for the ancestral history of David as well. David comes from Bethlehem also. So Bethlehem, he comes from David. He comes from Bethlehem. Jesus, his father, Joseph, comes from the lineage of David. Now, what's interesting here, we have two grounds being covered: a spiritual validation of royalty and a natural validation of royalty. Why do I say that? We have a spiritual and a natural validation of royalty. The natural validation of royalty comes from Joseph being and accepting to being, notice that I said that. He's accepting of being the father of Jesus, where we know by no connection of his own, by him consummating the marriage with Mary before the birth of Jesus, is Joseph the father of Jesus. He's only the father by marriage, technically, and Joseph accepting that responsibility. So, brothers, y'all ever need a reason to marry a woman that got kids already? Joseph did it, and look who he had. He had a Jesus. I'm not saying you're going to have anybody that great, but he did have Jesus. So let's recognize game, okay? Let's recognize real. But that accounts for his natural validation for being king. Why is that important to identify that Joseph, by blood, validates Jesus as king? Because it's not biblically accurate that the selection of kings per se by Israelites, by God, is done through bloodline. It's done by spirit, not done by bloodline. Okay? It's not done by blood, it's done by spirit. Remember, he chose Saul and gave Saul what? His spirit. There was nothing about the blood of Saul that made Saul valid in becoming the king. He didn't come from a royal lineage other than coming from the lineage of Israel, which everybody came from the lineage of Israel. So there's nothing that really validated him, I believe, outside of, if we were going to say anything royal, he comes from the lineage of Joseph. But even then, nothing made him a king outside of him reflecting exactly what the people wanted. Secular, natural, physical realm people wanted for their king to look and be like. He was big, he was strong. So Jesus in this instance represents something natural. Okay? True, there is an aspect to that when we're talking covenant, yes. But again, the covenant is a spiritual thing more than it is a blood thing. Okay? And the validation of, this is so exciting, Anthony. The validation of Jesus isn't by his blood and where it comes from as far as man goes, but what it is that his blood can do from his actual spiritual father that speaks to, his validity. Him doing things in the natural was for man's sake, not for his father's. More of what he did in the natural was for man's sake. Yes, it does give God glory. Yes, it does show God to be the true and living God as he says he is. Yes, but God operates outside of us also. God is not limited by what it is that he simply does for us. I think that's one huge thing that people miss. God is going to operate, do, and be regardless of us. But he does and be and incorporates us amongst what it is that he is doing because of his love for us, because of who he designed us to be. So there is that's that relationship between the natural and the spiritual that so many people miss out on. This natural that he did by being of the lineage of Joseph covers natural man's issues, claims, and arguments against God. I appreciate that. TikTok just let me know they filtered some comments. I don't know if there was anyone saying stuff out of pocket, but thank you, TikTok. I appreciate you having my back. But then there's the spiritual side of it. So on the spiritual side, one, the first king was chosen by a prophet who confirmed it by the Spirit to determine who that king was. And the next king wasn't the son of Saul. It wasn't Jonathan, right? It was David, by the selection of the Spirit of God, that determined who the next king would be. Okay? That's why it's even more baffling for the people, because they got lost when it came to the blood. It was just like, well, oh well, right? And I'm definitely paraphrasing the accuracy of what actually took place as far as, Joseph no longer being considered of royal blood and being looked to be taking over as king and none of any of that stuff. But that stuff got lost in the wind with how often the children of Israel ended up into bondage so frequently. A lot of that got lost. And so, Jesus was selected by royalty through the Spirit, and we see that with the behaviors of the stars itself that lead to Jesus being the appointed. We see what confirms it is a prophecy done by Micah back before this time, which prophecy didn't come with evidence. Prophecy didn't come with natural man's evidence. Prophecy came by the Spirit. You heard what it said. Prophecy came by the Spirit. You heard what I said? I said what I said. I meant what I said. I don't mean it aggressively. I just said what I said. Prophecy came by the Spirit. Okay? And so Jesus' appointment to his royal position comes by the Spirit. But for the sake of man's need for knowledge and information and details and specifics and evidence, does Jesus then come in the natural and show himself to be who he says he is. That's one of the other things I love about the natural side of Jesus, is when Jesus was healing, when Jesus was teaching and preaching, the Pharisees and the priests had a hard time wrestling with Jesus, not only because Jesus out-taught them and was smarter than them, right? Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas Eve to you too. I used to say that when I was a kid. I used to add it up. I'd be like, Merry Christmas Eve, and then Merry Christmas Eve, and then Merry Christmas. That was me, man. Thank you so very much for joining me. I appreciate you, Straw Hat Saturn. You're welcome here. I hope you stick around and stay for the rest of the Bible study. Okay. But, when it came to Jesus arguing with the Pharisees all the time, he wasn't just outsmarting them because he was, smarter than them. I mean, Jesus, yeah, he was smarter than them. Given. That's a done. But the other thing you got to recognize, too, is Jesus was certified in his position as a master, as a teacher, and as a priest. He was certified in those positions. No man is just going to walk up in the temple, start flipping tables, and not get arrested. No man's going to come in there beating on the priests, flipping their tables, knocking over all their money and their product, and not get arrested. Unless you are unless you have some position of leadership and authority within the place. And so Jesus had a position and an authority in the natural realm that the Pharisees and the priests couldn't immediately touch. That's what I believe plays a part in why they had to go to somebody else to be able to get Jesus convicted, was because Jesus, he's a priest. Dang, he's a master, he's a teacher, he's outdone us, he done surpassed us. We need someone that surpasses him in the natural man's world to bring him judgment, bring him down, because we can't do it. We don't have the authority to bring him down. Why don't you have the authority to bring him down? You don't respect him spiritually, so it's not that's keeping you from doing it, although there is a spiritual reason why they couldn't do it. But look, you had to go to somebody else who had more natural man's authority. I said what I said. My understanding of was Abraham, Noah, and Moses covenants all talked about the blessing their descendants would receive, so that's why the blood line was important to keep God's old promise pure. I do agree. Don't get me wrong. I do agree with you on that. And again, I'm not discrediting that. I'm more so focusing on how both the natural and the spiritual play a part in the validity of Jesus' royalty. Because it really, genuinely doesn't do God any good. God doesn't have to do anything by us for God to be valid. God doesn't have to do anything by us for God to be valid. But God does things by us to validate him with us. You see what I'm saying? Because watch here. And then we'll get back into the lesson. We're talking about the wise men in Matthew chapter 2. For anyone that is joining us, we're in Matthew chapter 2. Right? So, if you go to I think it's in Judges. No. First Samuel. You go to First Samuel. In First Samuel, there's an occurrence. I don't have the verse on me. But there was an occurrence in which the children of Israel are going to war against an enemy, the Philistines. And the children of Israel are losing. This is right around the time Samuel is selected as a prophet as well, because of the failures of Eli, who was the prophet that took in Samuel. God, I don't want to go too deep into that hole. But anyway, the Israelites go to battle. The Israelites start losing against the Philistines. The Israelites think, if we just go grab the Ark of the Covenant, then we'll beat them. They go grab the Ark of the Covenant, run back to the battlefield, then they lose. The Philistines take the Ark of the Covenant. Wait. The Ark of the Covenant is God with them. They shouldn't have lost. They should have won. Naturally it would make sense. But something else was happening spiritually. They spiritually weren't right, and so God wasn't with them. There's so many implications of them going to battle thinking it's for God and then losing. Man, it's crazy. They lose. The Philistines take the Ark of the Covenant. The Philistines, in taking the Ark of the Covenant, set it in the same room as Dagon. Dagon is the god that the Philistines of that period or in that region worshipped. And in them worshiping that god and leaving the Ark of the Covenant there, what happened was the Ark of the Covenant, the idol for Dagon, falls forward as if to be bowed. The hands of it are cut off. The head of Dagon is cut off. And so now they're just like, oh, snap, this Ark of the Covenant ain't no joke. And then they go try and take it somewhere else. When they take the Ark of the Covenant somewhere else, the people of the town are smitten with tumors and hemorrhoids. The scripture will say it's emerods. That translates to tumors and hemorrhoids. And people are dying. And these people are dying here. They transfer it to like 3 and 4 different places, trying to keep the Ark of the Covenant. None of it's working. These people constantly are getting smitten and killed by the Ark of the Covenant being there. So then this is going to tie in. Hear me out. They go to their seers and their divinators. And they're like, guys, what do we need to do? What do we need to look, man? This is the Ark of the Covenant of God. Y'all need to make a sacrifice for your make a trespass offering. Go look in Leviticus, I believe it's chapter 2 or chapter 3, and you can see where they do a trespass offering, the children of Israel do. But the Philistines are now doing the same thing, doing the trespass offering for what they've done for taking the Ark of the Covenant. They do a trespass offering, they give them the gold, and they send back the Ark of the Covenant back to the Israelites. Now you can probably think, all right, yeah, it's back home where it belongs with God's people. Woohoo! Watch it. They get it. They celebrate. They do sacrifices in celebration, but because some goofy people thought it would be smart to open the covenant and look and see what was inside, because, hey, they put gold in it, they start getting smitten and killed off. And they're just like, man, what do we do? Welcome, Franklin. You're welcome here. Thank you for joining me here on this live where we're talking about Matthew chapter 2. And we're speaking on the wise men. Thank you for joining me. But the Ark of the Covenant's return, they're celebrating. They start getting killed off for being disobedient. And for 20 years, the Ark of the Covenant sits in this place. And they're crying and lamenting and repenting. And then they go to Samuel and they're like, Samuel, what do we need to do? Well, you people have been worshiping a bunch of false idols and gods and thinking you can live how you want to live. Y'all need to repent from your wicked ways and turn back to following God and genuinely mean that, right? And that was the only way to fix for that. That was the only way to fix for that. And I say all that, well, the reason I'm saying all of this is this speaks to whether or not you're God's chosen people, whether or not you claim to be saved, whether or not you are not of God, whether or not you're a person of the world, whether or not you're an atheist, you are subject to the power of God. God doesn't need you to be God. God's going to be God in spite of you. But because of the love that God has for you, does God get involved with you in your life? And so that's where, when it's speaking of Jesus validating his royalty in natural and spiritual ways, that's where that holds so much power and weight in our lives today. God, I know that was a lot. But we're not even done yet. We're getting there, though. We're getting there. Okay, but the 3 people present in the acknowledgement that a new king has been born are the wise men who brought the news, King Herod and his priests and his scribes and other people. Now, you'll notice there's an excitement and a looking forward to bowing down and worshiping this new king on the side of the wise men. You have King Herod, who we will later see, who shows a level of rage at the existence of some so-called king and his royalty being confirmed by his own priests and scribes. But then you have this level of indifference on the side of his own priests and scribes. Here's the thing about priests and scribes. The priests were the ones that did the sacrifice, had to be sanctified when they did the sacrifices for sin in the presence of God. You have the scribes who not only took note of the text for their history and made sure that it was constantly being rewritten and being taught to the people so it's never forgotten. But the thing is, with these scribes and priests, and with King Herod being in the position he was in, King Herod more so made political moves in priestly selection and selecting his scribes, rather than going by them being Levites, rather than them going by them being of the lineage of their priesthood, rather than selecting those that are spiritual for the spiritual things. You know what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. So there's a bit of a level of corruption in that regard with the priests and scribes that are in this position. They show themselves capable, but you notice there's no expression of rage on their part. There's no expression of excitement on their part. They just verify that, well, it was in the text, king. There was supposed to be some king. But they don't want to go see and worship and bow to the king. So that's something that really blesses or shocks me, rather, to see them do that. I started to say blessing because I see Franklin here saying he's so happy to see a fellow Christian doing so well and spreading the gospel. I appreciate you acknowledging me for that. I yield myself to the will and to the Spirit of God when I do this. I am not the most capable man, but I'm the most willing. I'm one of the most willing. I'm probably not even the most willing, to be totally honest, but I'm blessed to be able to do this, and I thank you for receiving me. I pray that light is not, just throwing anybody off. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back, okay? I don't know if this helps. I hope this helps brighten up the room. All right, so the priests, right? Oh, my goodness. Yeah, but the priests seem to be demonstrating a level of indifference. So before we continue, are there any questions or comments on what's been said so far? Anybody got any questions or comments? I will give you 5 minutes to ask your questions or comments. So I'll resume at 3:29. Just 3:30, just to be even. Hunter! Welcome, Hunter Johns. Hey, I remember you was in the last live. I appreciate you joining me, my man. I'm glad you checked in, too. You missed a lot of it, but that's all right. What I'll do is, I will post this live. I'm going to start posting my TikTok lives on my YouTube so that people that miss out can see it. So I'll definitely do that for you so you can check it out. Anybody that's joining us right now, as these questions are either being thought of or there's none at all, if you're new here, please make sure that you show your love to my YouTube channel, Christ and Comics, where I've just expressed that I will be posting these TikTok lives on my YouTube channel, so you can go back and check those out. So I look forward to you guys being able to see these. I look forward to you guys being able to participate. I check my YouTube comments as well as much as possible to be able to respond to those too. So you had any other questions or any other comments, any other opinions that you may have, you can definitely go here and check it out. Now, as you can see, we are close to 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. Now, one thing I want to make sure that I point out with that being the case is that says 968, but last I checked, we're at 975. But with your help, guys, we can break that 1,000 mark. I'd love it. I don't want you to just watch it just to say, well, I showed my support by playing one of his videos while I go poop on the toilet. You know what I'm saying? Watch something that actually interests you. Express your opinion on something that actually interests you. Comment on my TikToks and let me know what interests you. Go to the Q&A section. Let me know what interests you, because I want to be able to respond to you. I want to be able to express my appreciation to you guys for what it is that you all are doing. I love what you guys love. You like anime. You like comic books. You like manga. You like, cartoon media, animated media, Disney movies, DC movies, Marvel movies, all these different types of stuff. And above all else, prayerfully, you love the Lord. You love God. And to bring all of that into one place, that's what this channel is for. So I hope that you guys can definitely show your support, and it's appreciated in advance. Thank y'all so much. Okay. I feel like Chris Tucker in Rush Hour 1, when Jackie Chan told him, I like to let people who like to talk, I like to let them talk. Like, I feel like I talk too much. I swear, guys, if y'all just let me talk, I can talk about the Bible, I talk about anime, anything all day long. Is there a Saint of Swords? Because I am not too well informed on the saints. Well, Franklin, neither am I. I want to preface something that might make y'all leave, might not. I don't consider myself to be a scholar. I don't consider myself to know everything biblical. I don't know nothing about the Crusades. I don't know nothing about the selection of saints. You know, that stuff I'm very foggy on, so that's why you don't see me do content on it. I don't know if anybody knows of the... I'm still guilty of breaking this too, but I don't know if anyone knows of what's called the Danny-Kruger effect. And the Danny-Kruger effect is... there's a huge study on this where someone will... There's two sides to it that happens. Is someone will gain new information and be ready to speak about that new information like they've known it and they know it better than anybody else. They're so confident in what they just learned. But then you have the other side where people are digging deep into information and they actually comprehend it, and they're not ones that are too confident to come and bring that information to light because they tread softly and just saying everything that they know and putting all this type of information out there. They don't tell everything. So, although I do, of course, study, and although I'm prepared to teach when I do study, it's at the same time, I know there's things that I just don't know. I just don't have a well enough comprehension to even talk about it. So I don't talk about the saints. But I appreciate you asking that question. It does give me something to look forward to in the future. My future studies are going to be on more of the other religions because I have a deep thought, perspective, and an idea about those other religions, and I hope to do TikTok lives on it, YouTube lives on it, on the different religions and all this other stuff one day. But thank you guys in advance. What do you say? We don't hear from you, boy. You think you better than us because you Christian. You sin more than us. Tyson Law, hi. Shooting your shot today, huh? No, I actually don't think I'm better than y'all. I mean, good try, though. Good try. I appreciate that. You know what? I don't think I'm better than you, but I know my God is better than you, so I'm not even worried about that. I know my God is better than you. If there's anything I learned from Peter, attacking that soldier and cutting his ear off, is that I don't have to go at anybody and try and cut their ear off. Jesus knows what he's doing. I just got to share his gospel, man. That's it. I don't got to, argue and box with people about the gospel, whether it's true or not, whether you believe it or not. It's good to sit here. Who said it was a sin to watch anime? Who said it was a sin to watch anime? I didn't say it was a sin to watch anime. You must be confusing one of my TikToks. And in any of my TikToks, I never said that anime is bad. I'm saying that there are Christians that see that anime is a sin to watch and consider it demonic. Where I hold the alternate position where it is not. And as a matter of fact, that the gospel can be spread by using anime, comic books, these superheroes, even the villains. The gospel of Jesus can be spread by using that media. That's my stance. So I'll tell you like I tell other people when I respond to their comments. I appreciate your comment because now I can shed some light on where you are otherwise confused on where I stand and where I believe. But word of advice, ask questions before you jump to conclusions. They'll do you a lot better. Ask questions before you jump to conclusions. That will definitely benefit you. I tell you that right now. Now, we're going to get back to our Bible study on the wise men who met Jesus. We left off with King Herod, and King Herod and his scribes confirming that the king that the wise men are saying has been born in Bethlehem that they've come to see is in fact a high possibility. So we left off in verse 9. Okay, so Herod has expressed this desire. Please let me know where he's at so that I can see this king. Okay? Verse 9. When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother. Let me pause there before I finish that verse. So, they see this star. Now there's a lot to go with this. This is where we get a bit supernatural here, because again, the natural aspect that verifies God or Jesus's royalty is done through Joseph, though he is not of the blood lineage of Joseph. However, the spiritual is being demonstrated here with this light. Because in one instance, through their astrological work, the astronomers, these wise men, were able to determine the direction of the direction of where Jesus is being born, which led them to Bethlehem, which confirmed for them of the birth of a king in Bethlehem. God, I can't wait to tear this part up. But then they have, as they're traveling to head in the direction of where the star has been, it's interpreted, and there's no 100% clarity, because it could have been one of two ways, but it's interpreted that the star appeared before them and began to guide them. And then as the star guided them, it appeared above where Jesus actually was. It led them to where Jesus was and then appeared there. So we got this now supernatural experience where they never seen a star come down and be where you are from where it was and then lead you where it wants you to go. They've only observed the stars and followed accordingly, not knowing which way is the right way to go. They just do, I guess you could say, trial and error to best understand best movements or best practices. And so we have where it goes deeper than that, right? It goes to the star appearing before them and directing them. Why is this so important? Okay? I don't know if y'all ready for this, man. Watch here. One, notice their excitement. They were excited to see this star appear before them. They were excited to follow this where it was going, because this is something like they had never experienced before. No, along with the title of wise men, it's like sorcerer or divinator or seer. And they normally do all the setups and the piecing together of the stuff to make their spells and their illusions and their imagery to convince the king that what it is that they're seeing is true, and they connect it with the documents. All of this stuff goes into that, right? I'm definitely paraphrasing it, and I'm probably not giving it a lot of light. I really don't care about seers and divinators in that regard. But it was something that they practice. I'm going to talk about that more in a moment. But what we got here, man, is this was something completely outside of their control. Just like the stars themselves. They were just observers and watchers, and they just look in awe like, man, we could learn how to move. We could learn when to change location, prepare for bad and good weather, prepare for a harvest. All of these things just from watching the stars. And now we have this instance where a star, in all of its greatness and as far as it's always been from us, to appear before us. To appear before us. But the star itself, in it appearing before us, isn't even leading us just to more stars, but to someone who is being born that the star would point you to. That would, woo! Come on, man. I don't know if y'all hearing me. I don't know if y'all hearing me. I'm getting way too excited. This is blowing me away. This is so amazing. They followed the star as it guided them. It wasn't like the star was there and they were guessing games. This star led them the rest of the way. And they just trusted in the star that they had been seeing, that it was leading them in the right direction in the first place. Why is this so important? I pointed out earlier that the wise men aren't even from Bethlehem. And it's not clear that the wise men are Jews. But the wise men already had inklings of Jewish text. Granted, possibly due to the Jews constantly being scattered, did they have access so that they could identify by this star that this connects with the prophecies of Micah, and we're going to follow this star to the prophesied birth of a king. These wise men who aren't even from Jerusalem, they're not from Bethlehem, but they trust in the text that they aren't demonstrated to be participators in. They trust that text, and they followed it. I am a firm believer in something. Watch here. I believe that there are very, very, very few real witches out there. There are practitioners and there are performers. There are cosplayers who say that they do witchcraft and that they're witches and that they love spells and that they're good witches and that they're bad witches and that they've cursed people and that they've healed people and that they've seen spirits and all of this stuff. But the thing that's common with witches, warlocks, divinators, seers, prophets, wise men, all of them, the thing that is common with all of them is a fear for God. Is a sensitivity to God. That is common for each and every one of them. And where the priests and the scribes and the king of Bethlehem were unaware of a prophecy coming to pass, people from Persia, Arabia, and India can see it. People from this entirely different place can see it. So with these people being able to see it, this is another thing that connects to that, yes, they were God's chosen people. The Israelites were God's chosen people. But Jesus came for all men. That's why men from entirely different countries traveled to come see Jesus. This also confirms timeline. That it was after and several months after the birth of Jesus. So, because to be coming from Persia or India or Arabia or wherever they came from Babylonian nations, all the way to where Jesus was, would take a long time. They didn't have cars, didn't have planes, didn't have boats to at least get them there particularly. But they had to travel this long way to get to where Jesus was. So a lot of time had already passed. So at the point in which this was brought to their light is at the same time in which Jesus was born, and thus they began their travels, which gives us our 6 to 18 months. But these people who have never seen him, heard of him, but only read of the prophecies, trusted the prophecies, and followed the prophecies to where Jesus was and met him. I swear. It blows me away, man. That's what mesmerizes me. Because remember, right? I gave y'all that instance back in 1 Samuel when the Ark of the Covenant got in the hands of the Philistines and they started doing sacrifices. They went to their divinators and their seers. What should we do to appease this God? Y'all sinned against God. Y'all need to do a trespass offering. How'd they know what kind of offering was needed to appease God? How did these people that don't follow the laws of the Israelites privy to the sacrifice needed to please the true and living God when they know sacrifices to their god Dagon? When I tell you that is, boy, I swear. But look at how even in the birth of Jesus was Jesus bringing in people from other nations to follow him. Y'all, man. That's why, this is not a shot at them. I'm saying this. I don't care to verify if I'm of Israelite lineage or not. I don't care. I could care less to say that I'm a black Jew. I could care less. All that matters to me is to know that I trust in the Lord with my life, that I've given Jesus my life, and with every aspect of my being, and am I demonstrating that dedication by talking about him, by praying to him, by reading his word, by fellowshipping with his people willingly, because it shows in me that it brings me joy. That's why I get so excited about doing this. It's because it's a part of who I am. It's not because I'm being demanded to and there's some priest in the room. See, there's nobody in this room dictating me to speak right now. There's no forces demanding that I teach in this way. This is coming straight from the heart and from what I've studied. And I pray that this is blessing y'all, man. I pray that this is blessing y'all. They followed a star. I love how they get excited in verse 10. Matthew 2 and 10. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. Again, I'm going to say it one more time and then we'll get to the closing. We're kind of going to be drawing this to a close, guys. I pray that you guys will hit the like button on this video. Let's get it up to 7,000. Can we do it? Can we do it?
Can we get this video up to 7,000? I think you guys can do it. Y'all have been sticking it out with me this long. Let's get it up to 7,000. I think we can make it. Can we make it? 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 I used to be on the praise and worship team. I don't do that no more. When I say praise and worship team, the dance team. I used to be in it. I'm not in it no more. I'm too big for that now. I'm too big for that. I couldn't do a split when I was a kid. What makes you think I can do a split now? It's above 7K. You messing with? No, it's not. It says 6.5. Anthony, why you mess with me like that? How you gonna sin against God and lie to me like that? It does not show 23K. Y'all are lying. It's 6.6. Anthony, you're not telling me the truth right now, dog. You hurt my feelings. No, you're not hurting my feelings. I'm kidding. I thank y'all so very much for joining me. But their joy over being able to follow God, man, is being able to follow this light. And again, it's not clear that they know Jesus to be God. It's not clear that they're receiving these words from God. And not this time. None of that's happened yet. But what is clear is that these are people, I'm losing my train of thought. These are people that have been in their career for so long of studying and watching and observing the stars and giving wisdom based off the stars and protecting their people based off the stars and leading these people to riches based off the stars and worshiping idols based off the stars and then all of a sudden, when they're going to go follow just to meet what they believe to be just a king under prophecy, do they have the newest of experiences that anyone could have ever had in seeing a star and a star appear before them and guide them and stop at the place in where this so-called king is? It was one thing for the star to just be there and be guiding and pointing them in the right direction. It's another thing for the star to come from where it was to come and lead them in the right direction. Y'all ain't hearing me. You mean, hold on. You mean to tell me that God spoke in a language that the astronomers and astrologers would understand to lead them to Jesus? God didn't look at his own stars and say that they were demonic and I'm not going to communicate in this way, but I'll send an angel or I'll send a prophet or I'll send someone of my own and in my own way to get people who aren't of my way to understand my way? Just saying. I'm just saying. That's amazing to me. It's amazing to me. Verse 11. And when they were coming to the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. Oh. So, this is another thing that, granted, if they were kings, then yeah, I could still see that happening. But, I think it's more accurate to believe that they were simply astronomers rather than being kings. But even if they were kings that bowed to Jesus. Either way. So, interpret it as you wish. I see them as genuinely just wise men. But they bowed down and worshiped Jesus when they saw him immediately. And again, it's unclear how many people were actually there, but it's believed to be 3, not only by the confirmed names or identified names of those that were there, Melchior, Balthazar, and Jasper, but it's also due to the gifts that we see here. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Gold to speak of the riches and the wealthiness of him, the frankincense to speak of his divinity, and the myrrh to reflect that of what's needed for his death. So, and I think myrrh is used in the preparation of bodies upon death. So there's that connection there when we are looking at the gifts that are being given. A lot of people associate that to them giving gifts to prepare him for his death, burial, and resurrection. But it's really, I don't think that was in their mind at this time. What's more so being demonstrated here is in one sense the wealth of the the wealth of the wise men, but it's also demonstrating the recognition of the royalty again of Jesus, right? Because they weren't considered wealthy. Keep in mind when he was born, he was born in a manger. Frankincense is like a perfume. It's like a cologne or a perfume that's used. And it's very expensive. It's not like just any perfume. When they used perfumes back then, there was like either high quality or just like basic, keep me from stinking a little bit. There's ones that when you put that on, you just like, oh, that boy got money. You knew who had money based off of the type of frankincense that they wore and stuff like that. So there's a lot that goes into that. And oh man, you just made me think of something too. Whenever they would do sacrifices and enter into the temple of God, they would have to prepare certain smells when they would do something like that. And I think frankincense was one of the acceptable smells to be presented unto God. There are other scents and perfumes that people thought they were okay with using, but God spoke against those things. I cannot remember the exact verbiage, but it said the strange smells or strange scents. He was not an advocate for those strange smells. So not any perfume was acceptable to just give unto him. That's what, validates these gifts even more, is that they were specifically thought out, intentional, richly gifts that were being given. So that's what makes them hold even more weight, the gifts that they gave. Some other things that people talk about too here is they weren't given to Joseph and Mary. They were given to them, but they were given for Jesus specifically. These belong to him, right? And again, that talks about that, acknowledging him as royalty, the preparation for him and his death and resurrection. All of that kind of speaks to that, being that it was given to him. But one of the things that we can see is Joseph was just a carpenter, so the ability to move from place to place so freely wasn't very evident. It's not as though he was wealthy to be able to just do as he freely wished. So he had to be very careful in how he operated. But being that he got these gifts, they were able to use these gifts upon the attack of Herod to come and to send his soldiers to kill the firstborn of anyone in their house. And so that's what allowed for them to escape from here to Egypt so that Jesus would not be killed when Herod sent his soldiers to kill these people's children. So that's just some other details there to keep in mind when we're looking at this. But you know how I said there was no direct instance of God speaking or impacting the wise men before here. But what we have here in the end of verse 12, where God does speak to them. And I guess because of the cruciality of it all, they just moved. Okay, look at that, right? Look at that. There probably was, it's like, bro, did you have a dream? Yeah, I had a dream. This person said this. Yeah, they told me too. Yo, let's go. Like, being that they were wise men, believing in prophecy and words coming from other entities and deities wasn't uncommon to them. So it didn't catch them off guard for God to speak to them and tell them about the evil deeds and intentions of Herod and just go another way. But we do see that they walked in obedience. It wasn't like they had to delineate. It wasn't like they had to freak out and things of that nature. It wasn't like they had to go to Herod to confirm that it was true. They just, went where they were supposed to go. They left. So we have that, and I think that's so. I think that's beautiful in and of itself. Again, foreign people are able to be more obedient to God than God's own. That's something that always will baffle me. That's something that always will baffle me. And that's what I love about this study on the wise men, is we are seeing people who do not and have not walked with God, are doing better as far as obeying God and following God than those that claim to follow God. Okay? Thank y'all for getting us up to 7,000. I appreciate y'all. Are there any other questions or comments as we draw this Bible study to a close? Any other questions or comments? As the comments and questions are possibly rolling in, just a reminder for any new visitors. please come and follow my YouTube channel at Christ and Comics. Its lastly seen was at 975. So we are very, very close to being at 1,000. And with your help, we can make it there, guys. So please, thank you so very much. Do y'all have any last questions for me as we draw this to a close? Thank you very much, Franklin. I hope to have a good Christmas myself. Hope everyone's having a good time with their friends and with their family as well. This was truly a blessing. Student of Horns, I thank you for the follow. Thank you so very much. Hello, Student of Horns. Thank you. We are drawing to a close, but I appreciate you coming in anyway. Oh, I wish I could, man. I wish I could, but I got to do some shopping. I very easily could, because, dude, like I said, there's so many can of worms being opened up on this topic. And thank y'all. I do hope I have a very Merry Christmas as well. I'm looking forward to, doing something a little special for my daughter, so this is going to be nice. I'm very excited. I hope she loves it. I've never been the best gift giver, but I've always had the heart for the gift giving, I guess you could say. I'm no Nicholas now. I'm no Saint Nick. I just try. Thank you so very much, Hunter Johns, for joining my YT. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see what the new numbers are. And once I hit my goal, guys, I'm so excited. Just to say, too, as we're drawing this to a close, I just want to hit on two things. One, I met an old friend at work yesterday, and it turns out he does video editing type work and graphic design work. And I myself do the same for my projects, for my YouTube channel and my videos. But the balance of doing that and doing my work and doing all the stuff that I do has been pretty exhausting. And so, with all that being said, I haven't been able to... that's why I'm not able to regularly post videos on my YouTube channel like I would like to. There's so much content I would at least do once a week. But I just don't have the time and energy to do that as consistently as I would like. But with this friend of mine, I might be able to get someone on board who would be willing to do the work and willing to be able to put us out there. So I am so excited. I am so very excited. And I hope that we're able to grow. I really do. I really hope that we're able to grow, man. So again, thank y'all so very much. The only other thing I wanted to say is I'm so thankful to the Lord for what the Lord has done to open up the door for others to be invited to fellowship with Him. And that's if you could take away anything from the wise men, is that just because you're not of the bloodline of Israel does not mean that you can't not only receive revelation, but that you can't be a part of God's family, that you can't be a follower of Jesus, that you can't teach, that you can't preach, that you can't love God, that you can't love God's people, that you can't be kind, that you can't demonstrate the fruit of the Spirit, that you can't be patient. You can be all of these things and more, whether or not you are of the Jewish lineage, whether or not you are God's chosen people. You have been called on by God to follow God, not because He specifically is choosing you per se, but because the doors are open and you just have to receive of the gift. That's your only responsibility for salvation, is to receive Jesus. That's it. That's all that is. It's just receive Jesus. The wise men did, and all the wise men had was old text. The wise men did, and the wise men did what the wise men do, which is follow the stars. They weren't followers of the gospel. They didn't follow the text alone. They followed what they always follow, which was the stars. I've not done a video on Finn and Jake meeting Jesus. I might one day. But I'd probably do them as individual characters. I wouldn't do them as both one and the same. I could do one and the same. I'll think about it. I'll think about that, Anthony. I might make that happen. We'll see. We'll see. All right, guys. This has truly been a blessing. I thank y'all for joining me here on TikTok Live. I pray that you all have yourselves a blessed day. Thank y'all so very much for being here. Hey, Papa John, I thank you for coming in, man. But we are about to draw this to a close. You guys be blessed. Thank you so very much. I look forward to seeing y'all again next week. Peace.